his proximal radial ulnar joint. Okay. What was the resting position?
Oh. Full extension.
Whoa.
Radial ulnar.
Which joint did you say?
His proximal radial ulnar.
Oh, it's full extension.
Extension, full supination.
Radial.
No, that was radial.
70 degrees.
I don't remember.
70 degrees of flexion.
Right.
Okay. And then so I would have him about right here. Okay. And so what I'm going to do here, and I'll even come over. Well, I'll just be at this point. So what I'm looking at is how does it move anteriorly, and it moves anteriorly in what motion? Pronation or supination? Supination. So if I'm testing how well does it supinate, I can get right there on the joint line with my left thumb. With my right thumb, I'm right here on the radial head, and I'm just assessing how well does that move anteriorly. Okay. If I want to see how well does it move posteriorly, this one's tougher because you got to go through his wrist extensor muscles. Okay, so sometimes it's tough to find a position that he can tolerate, and I can't get right on the bone like I can when I'm looking at his anterior glide. But if I go posteriorly, tell me if it hurts too. Okay, you know I've got my finger here, and I'm coming posteriorly. I'm looking at how the pronation, as far as the osteokinematic motion, when I go posteriorly, and I'm just pulling it towards me. I've got my thumb on that joint line, and I'm assessing that way.
And the reason it looks medial and lateral is because you've got the elbow flexed. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's internally rotated. So So if I were assessing him here, which I know I'm not going to, it would have been posterior, anterior.
Gotcha.
But as I turn him this way, now here's the anterior and here's the posterior, this direction. Okay?
Then you need to supinate the arm, or?
He's slightly
Here,
supinated because
okay.
here's neutral. Here would be neutral, and he's at about
Okay.
35 degrees of supination. Okay? And if I didn't feel like it was moving well, I may check that, and I may say, you know, just move him along. Supinate them more, or pronate them a little bit more, and see where it feels like that joint's moving the most. Because not everybody's joint's the same. Okay, that's kind of like an average. Okay, makes sense.
So you're doing that in an assessment when you have an issue related to pronation and supination.
Yeah.
Limited mobility and. Okay. Just trying to make sure I understand. Sorry.
Yeah. Those are things I would look at. It moves a little bit in flexion extension, not much, so that wouldn't be the first thing I went at. If I determined that I thought it was a joint, okay, and humeral ulnar, all the other joints that affect flexion extension are fine, I may look there just to see maybe if I loosen that up, maybe he's an anomaly. If I loosen that up, his elbow will extend more, flex more, whatever we need. Okay. So we also talked about the medial tilt and the lateral tilt. So basically what we're looking at is a glide. And this is of the humeral ulnar joint. Okay? What's the resting position of the humeral ulnar joint? 70, yeah. So here's neutral. So I would say about here. Now what I would probably do, why don't you get me like maybe one of those sheets that I could use as a stabilizer? Scoot over that way a little bit. Okay, so if I wanted to assess his
Oh!
Gosh.
Why did I get on it?
Please scoot.
Where is it? What's it?
It was a cockroach in the blanket.
It was not a cockroach. It was like that. That was not a cockroach.
It was a mini cockroach.
All right. So if I want to assess his medial glide,
It was heading for Steve.
what I can do is I just get here on the the humeral-ulnar joint, and I'm right here. There's this micronon right there. I'm just going to give it a medial. Little glide there to assess. So my force direction is down this way. And so that would be for elbow extension. You're going to get that slight medial glide with elbow extension. Okay?
Do that again.
Yeah. Like this. And I'm palpating with my hand underneath to see how well that joint's moving. Okay? So I'm going medial with the humerus. I'm sorry, with the ulna on the humerus.
So it's
Okay?
basically like varus valgus, but we're just in a different position.
Yeah, it is varus valgus.
Just
It definitely
for
is. But varus valgus is based on osteokinematic. What we're looking at is arthrokinematic motion. What's going on in the joint? Does that make sense? So if I wanted to look at the lateral, then I would just switch my hands here on the joint line and see how well he moves anteriorly. So this one's kind of tough because it's, I'm mobilizing with my hand this way, and on this one I'm stabilizing, but I'm also trying to get on the...
Not anteriorly?
I'm sorry.
Laterally.
Lateral.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm stabilizing on his lateral surface. I'm sorry. Yeah, on his lateral surface, and I am pulling from medial to lateral with my left hand. Okay, and I'm looking at the lateral joint line. That's where I'm assessing with my fingers. That's where I'm palpating that joint line. Okay, and it's just an assessment. I wouldn't mobilize that way. Okay, I'm just assessing to see how well the joint moves.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm confused, but so for that way you did medial lateral force, but when he was in the same position to do medial, you were pushing posterior.
On this one, I was doing a lateral force. Okay, so I'm here, and I'm stabilizing with my right hand on this lateral surface, and I'm coming, my direction is this way.
So you're saying lateral, but you're...
No, this is lateral.
Well, but just because of how it's
how the elbow
twisted, right?
Yeah, but we've got to go, we can't go based on the direction, it can't be anterior
Well,
here.
that's what I'm making sure, because I can't,
It's
feel what
based
you're
on,
doing, so
it's based on his anatomy, so
Yeah.
we're going to his
Making sure.
lateral epicondyle, that
Thank you.
direction.
That's
Okay?
what I needed.
Yeah, so if that's something that you're not clear of, make sure when you are describing what direction you're going, it's not based on what position he's in necessarily. That wouldn't be anterior. It's based on where you're going on his anatomical structure. Okay? So let's break up and work on all those ones.